Father arrested less than 24 hours after police asked for help finding this woman. 35-year-old Samantha Moreno Rodriguez was taken into custody in the Denver area.
She's awaiting extradition to Nevada tonight. Police believe her 7-year-old son was last seen alive with her the day before his body was found near Mountain Springs.
Liam Husted called San Jose home. The investigation into his death now spans 3 states.
Tonight, we're learning more from his family, who say the boy had special needs. Fox 5's Drew Andre following the developments live from Metro headquarters tonight.
Lieutenant Ray Spencer, and I'm the homicide lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We thought it was very important to have you here this afternoon so we could address multiple questions, but also express our gratitude to the multiple law enforcement agencies that have made this arrest possible. Specifically, the local office here of the FBI and also the Denver office of the FBI, along with the San Jose Police Department. I do want to give a timeline just to kind of walk through some things relating this investigation.
If you feel like you can relate in any way to the story, please utilize the number scrolling across the bottom of your screen, or click on the links below in the video. If you know of or see someone struggling with their life responsibilities, the isolation that COVID has brought on all of us, the lack of resources for emotional support or financial support, or even caregiver relief, please reach out. Be a friend. Be a neighbor. Be a part of that village. Also, if you have a real concern for someone's immediate safety, whether it's an adult or a child, please do not hesitate to call 911 immediately. This is no joke.
So on Monday, May 24th, the father of Liam returned home to his house in San Jose, California. When the father arrived home, he noticed that all of Liam's belongings and all of Samantha's belongings were gone. There was a message that was left for him by Samantha. And I'm just going to quote a little bit of that message, but she specifically tells him, quote, "I'm sorry I had to do it like this." She also goes on to say that I'm going to try to get a house for Liam and I, and that we can talk about this in the future. There was nothing suspicious in that message that would lead the father to believe that Liam or Samantha were involved in any kind of foul play or that there was any harm potentially to come. Over the next week, the father basically did not know what to do. It was on June 1st that the father contacted the San Jose Police Department because he wanted to document the incident. San Jose Police responded to his house and they spoke with him. The patrol officers listened to this message. I've also listened to the message, and there was nothing suspicious from that message. It indicated that Samantha had basically left him and took Liam with her, and they were going somewhere else. He did not want to get Samantha in trouble, and he chose not to file a report to document the parental abduction. It was on the 4th when a friend of Samantha's noticed the sketch that had been circulating on local news networks and she also knew that Samantha was missing. After observing that, she then went to the San Jose Police Department and explained to them that she felt that Liam could potentially be the person in that sketch. As soon as San Jose Police were presented with that information, they immediately launched an investigation and were very persistent in getting a hold of me. We have I talked yesterday about the information where we could put Samantha in Laguna Beach. We also could place her in Victorville. Since the press conference yesterday, we can place her at a local hotel here in Las Vegas on the 27th. When she was at that hotel, we believe from the information that we have right now that Liam was alive. From there, on the 28th, is when we found Liam's body at Mountain Springs. This morning, at around 6 a.m., members of the FBI's apprehension team in Denver took her into custody.
A lot of times we tell ourselves it's none of our business what's going on with the people across the hallway in the apartment buildings or the people next door to you in your neighborhoods. People see signs of degeneration in relationships and mental stability, and they tell themselves that it's just not their responsibility to stick their nose in somebody else's business until you see police cars in front or somebody is injured or damaged or has committed an act of violence. So I'll tell you, I try to be that person that goes over and asks somebody, are you okay? I want you to know, if you're listening to this, please realize that if you feel trapped, if you feel angry, exhausted, both mentally and physically, if you feel scared, maybe resentful, overwhelmed, and a lot of times it feels like you're drowning. I can totally relate to that story. If you know of or see someone struggling with their life and their responsibilities, you need to know that you're not alone. They need to know that they're not alone. And I think if we start to communicate better with each other now that some of the restrictions from COVID are lifting, that maybe we can start being kind to each other and noticing things that are happening and become more of a village, more of a neighborhood, more kind to one another on a daily basis. If you are struggling with the life responsibilities and the isolation that COVID's brought, the lack of resources for emotional or financial support, or even caregiver relief, if you know of someone that is struggling with this, help us out there. And it can start as easily as reaching out to that person.
To the media for your cooperation and your assistance in getting out as much information as you possibly could in such a quick time frame, and also to thank their public for their commitment and for their assistance in us getting to a resolution.
I would rather have somebody angry and still be with me. I would rather have somebody angry at me and have their problem known and spoken of, have their inability to cope with their present situation made note of, and have them assessed and perhaps even given some help. That for me is way more important than somebody being angry at me. So always do what's right for the kids. No matter what in a situation, grown-ups have a tendency to not act grown-up all the time. When you see somebody starting to struggle like that, you need to be the grown-up in the situation and stick your nose in for the sake of the people involved in the situation that aren't functioning well at the time. It's important that you make sure that everyone is safe.
I'll tell you what I have learned over the last 10 days is how many missing children there are nationally. I was inundated with reports of missing children from all over the United States. And when I said we had hundreds of tips come in, we were going through all of those because there are so many missing children in the United States. And trying to make an identification from the photograph of the missing children, it's a very complicated and time-consuming process.
here's how I'm gonna wrap this up, okay? I know what it's like to feel desperate. I struggled with postpartum depression. I was in a collapsing marriage. I had a business that was up and down at the time. Digital was killing the printing industry. That's what our business was. And I was isolated away from my friends and family who lived in the Midwest. And I was down in Texas at the time. So I didn't have my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins to help me out. I had 2 children that were 19 months and a day apart. And the second one was neurodivergent. Both of them were exceedingly intelligent. However, they didn't process in the same way that most other children did. I had no experience raising children. My parents had somewhat of a dysfunctional relationship. Our household was very dysfunctional, and I struggled a lot. Today, there are so many more resources available than what we had at the time. You were lucky to have a friend, a neighbor, a church that you could reach out to have someone talk to you. AOL was just starting at that point. I am over 40, so I'm going to age myself here. But I'll tell you something. Help is out there now. You can go to any fire station, any ER, any public library that's open if you're afraid to go talk to the police. And if you walk in there with your child and say, I am, about to go Andrea Yates, and not to make light of that situation at all, that's going to be another video, we're going to get to that. But I'm about to lose it. I'm about to drop my basket. And I don't want my children to be the eggs that get cracked when it lands with a splat. Okay, I'm not handling myself very well right now, and I'm afraid that I may harm myself and in that process also harm my child, okay? If you pick one of those 3 places, I guarantee you that they will take your child into that safe space and they will notify the proper authorities, and you'll have some time by yourself to figure out what you're going to do. But you're not going to do it to your kid. And that's what's important here, is what is important to and in the best interest of the child. So it is a safe space to take your kid if you feel out of control. If your head's spinning, if you feel confused and fed up and desperate, nobody is going to judge you for making sure that your child is safe while you are in a state of mental chaos. Okay, now I'm just going to put this out there. Neurodivergent kids, I know, because I had another child at age 40. This was about 12 years after having the first 2. And again, brilliant child, but definitely neurodivergent. And when I say that, we're talking along the aspect of what they used to term as Asperger's syndrome, I guess would be the best way to, Azzies, describe that. But you know what? They are special kids, and they're referred to by some as special needs kids. But they're a unique challenge, and to the most experienced and trained professionals, they are a unique challenge. So is it any wonder that normal parents out here feel like they're in over their heads, overwhelmed? These unique and beautiful kids didn't ask to be a challenge, and they didn't choose to be as they are. Listen, asking for help does not mean you're a failure as a parent. Nor does it mean that you are a failure as a human being, okay? If you get to a point where you just can't cope anymore, I think if everyone was honest with themselves and others around them, they would probably have to admit that we have all felt desperate to the point of doing something crazy. Yes, I'm going to put this out there. Dumping your kid like trash on the side of the road is crazy. I don't care if it's legally insane, if she knew what she was doing was wrong, didn't know what she was doing is wrong. That's not a normal action for anyone. That is a person driven to an act of desperation. Something went snap, crackle, pop in this woman's head. Decisions and rationale just left. The decisions that were made weren't rational. And in her mind, I'm sure they were. And in that particular context, we have to look at there's damage working. Okay, something's not functioning, elevator not going to the top floor there. And I realize that sounds judgmental, but it's got to be said. So, do I think that, you're a failure as a human being if you reach out for help, if you go somewhere and say, hey, need to dump my kid with you, and I may be back in a day, I may not. I don't know what's happening, but I know that whatever it is, it's not good for my child to be a part of it right now. I can't imagine anyone saying, no, you can't leave your child here. I can't imagine any friend, any person, any acquaintance of yours, a neighbor, even if you don't know the neighbor, they're going to notify authorities, I'm quite sure. So if you are afraid of being caught for abandonment or arrested if you take a child to the police department, I understand that fear, but there are other options, okay? We all need a hand up from time to time. It's okay to reach out. Whether you're the one reaching out towards somebody or the one who is receiving that hand, I've been on both ends of the deal. I believe in karma. I believe that what you put out into the universe circles and it comes back to all of us. Every time that we are able to help someone who is struggling just by a random act of kindness, it raises the entire vibration of the planet toward the good. Try and have a nice day, and be good to each other.